Trudeau says government should rethink infrastructure funding in wake of wildfires. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the federal government needs to re-examine the way it funds infrastructure projects as Canada's worst wildfire season on record continues. Wildfires have forced thousands of people in BC and the Northwest Territories to leave their homes in recent weeks. Trudeau was in BC's Central Okanagan region on Friday to meet with firefighters and local leaders including Kelowna Mayor Tom Dias and West Kelowna Mayor Gord Milsom after rainy conditions helped curb the wildfires that have been devastating the region. During their conversation with Trudeau, the mayors asked for permanent and sustained federal investments in disaster-resilient infrastructure. The Prime Minister was asked about the mayor's request later during a press conference, specifically whether the government should provide more predictable funding for infrastructure rather than using a grant-based model. "I think we need to start looking at that around emergencies. We certainly need to look at that around infrastructure investments," Trudeau replied. "This is something with which we are fully seized and our Minister of Infrastructure, among others, will be fully engaged with. And I look forward to continuing to work closely with provincial and municipal leaders in a collaborative way to respond to these challenges." Many of the infrastructure projects the federal government funds are paid for through grants for which municipalities must apply. Such grant programs can be highly competitive. The Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund, DMAF, for example, was running short on money despite not being set to expire until the 2030s. The government topped up the fund last fall. Launched in 2018, DMAF offers grants to municipalities, provinces, territories, and Indigenous communities to cover a portion of costs for disaster resilience infrastructure projects. Jason Thistlethwaite of the University of Waterloo studies climate change adaptation and risk mitigation. He said programs like DMAF can be biased toward larger jurisdictions with more capacity to complete applications. "The money is going to go to the best grant writer, whichever city has the most capacity to write a grant," he said. "The problem with that is that it's not necessarily risk-based, meaning that the money going out isn't necessarily going to the communities that need it the most." NWT Premier Caroline Cochrane told 24newsread.blogspot.com The Current on Friday that she's done begging for federal help to fill the infrastructure gaps that have made it harder to get people to safety. "We have been asking the federal government to address our infrastructure gaps for decades," Cochrane told guest host Susan Bonner. "It angered me that we have been pleading and begging to have the same infrastructure that people in the South take for granted. Not extra, just basic infrastructure." Wildfires knocked out communications to several NWT communities in recent weeks, leaving residents without the internet, phone, and cell services they need to stay informed about the evolving emergency. As a wildfire approached the small community of Kakisa, residents received an evacuation order via letter. When the city of Yellowknife was given an evacuation order last week, many residents left the city via Highway 3, the only highway in or out of the community. Had the fires reached that vital artery, it might not have served as an escape route. Asked Friday about Cochrane's comments, Trudeau acknowledged the infrastructure challenges the territory faces. He pointed to Highway 3 as an example. "Within 2 days they'd evacuated close to 20,000 people in a very effective way, and that's, as you say, not a credit to great infrastructure, it's a credit to community members and individuals and people and frontline support workers helping out and making sure that it all happened effectively," he said. The Prime Minister said he would continue conversations with the territorial government about infrastructure gaps. "That's part of the reflections we have to have going forward on how we can make sure that we have even more resilient communities," he said. Thistlethwaite said the federal government has the capacity to identify high-risk areas and should provide stable funding for those communities. "Those communities should have funding that's automatically available for them," he said. "You effectively use the science to guide the fiscal resources of the federal government rather than the politics, or who has the loudest voice." Trudeau's comments come as the federal government is sending more armed forces members to assist with firefighting efforts in BC. In response to the relentless wildfires, we received and approved an additional request for assistance from the Government of British Columbia, Emergency Preparedness Minister Harjit Sajjan said a statement posted on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Canadian Armed Forces members will be there to assist the province with firefighting operations.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
The politics of housing now defines both Trudeau and Poilievre. The issue of housing affordability has become a political crucible, a debate through which Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre are defining themselves and each other. There are, despite appearances, a few crucial points on which the Prime Minister and the leader of the official opposition agree. They both agree, for instance, that the cost of housing is a pressing problem that demands action, a level of agreement that does not exist for climate change. They both agree that at least part of the solution involves other levels of government. They both agree that federal funding can play a meaningful role in creating change. And they both agree the other has nothing useful to offer. What Canadians need are real solutions, not just slogans and buzzwords, Trudeau said Wednesday, apparently in reference to the Conservative leader. A few hours later, Poilievre said Canadians were getting only more speeches, more photo ops, more puff pieces. Poilievre was, coincidentally, speaking at his own photo op in that moment. He had summoned reporters to the foyer of the House of Commons, where he stood before the glass doors that lead to the chamber. Still eschewing the glasses he wore until recently, but now back to wearing a collared shirt and tie, Poilievre lamented the housing hell he accuses the federal government of creating and called on the Prime Minister to recall the House so that MPs could solve the crisis with common sense. The House is due to reconvene on September 18. If 3 extra weeks is enough time to solve the issue of housing affordability in Canada, it's a wonder no one has done it yet. But Poilievre's gambit has the benefit of conveying urgency, and it also makes for a tidy one-liner. Open up the House so Canadians can get a home, Poilievre declared as he departed. Poilievre's Conservative solutions. Poilievre suggested the House's time would be used to focus on 3 things: balancing the budget to reduce inflation, eliminating the bureaucracy that makes it harder to build housing, and selling federal property to make more land available for development. To varying degrees, each of these is easier said than done. Poilievre says he would have the federal government unload 6,000 buildings. The federal government already has a program to sell surplus properties for affordable housing, the Federal Lands Initiative, which was launched in 2019 with the stated goal of making available 4,000 suitable properties. At least some buildings have been put up for sale, but a parliamentary committee report last year suggested the program could be improved. Based on the projections tabled in the spring, balancing the federal budget in the current fiscal year would require cutting spending by $40 billion. The projected deficit for next year is only slightly smaller, at $35 billion. If the Conservatives have an itemized list of everything they would cut to return the budget to balance, that would at least be interesting to see, regardless of when the House reconvenes. Given how many countries are dealing with elevated inflation, it's also fair to ask how much balancing the federal budget would actually reduce inflation in Canada. But beyond the details, there is a neat consistency to Poilievre's prescriptions. The Conservative leader is proudly ideological in his conservatism, and he is proposing a plan that epitomizes the textbook beliefs of a conservative: reduce the footprint of government, shrink the public sector, minimize regulation. In Canadians' concerns about housing and the cost of living, Poilievre obviously sees an opportunity to pursue his ideological aims, and if he is successful politically, this debate no doubt would act as a gateway to a much more conservative federal government than Canada has had over the last 8 years. Trudeau's fondness for experts, data. Trudeau isn't much of an ideologue. But he does have his own tendencies and preferences. Emerging from 2 days of cabinet meetings in Charlottetown, Trudeau reported that he and his ministers had heard from experts and directly from Canadians who are facing these problems. He also said they had studied historical trends and data from Statistics Canada's long-form census which are helping us understand these issues more clearly. That reference to the long-form census, the one the previous Conservative government killed in 2010 and the Liberals restored on their first day in office in 2015, surely was not incidental. Two of the experts who spoke to Cabinet came with a 10-point plan to boost the availability of rental properties. Trudeau wasn't quite ready to commit to copy and pasting that plan into the government's fall economic statement. But he is at least no longer trying to parse constitutional responsibility for housing. Poilievre, whose affinity for political combat is almost as strong as his fondness for conservative principles, has vowed that he would withhold federal infrastructure funds from municipalities that don't build as much housing as he thinks they should. "I am paying for performance and results," Poilievre told an audience in PEI last week. Trudeau, who came to office promising a more collaborative approach to governing and who is trying to encourage municipalities with a housing accelerator fund, said there's an obvious need for more cooperation. "I look forward to working alongside not just premiers and mayors but also the for-profit and not-for-profit sector," he said. With his own sleeves rolled up, Trudeau said the way we get through this is to roll up our sleeves and get the work done collaboratively across all the different sectors and orders of governments that have different responsibilities. Trudeau also had some thoughts about what Canadians don't need. "In this time, Canadians need a government that believes in them and invests in their future, not one that thinks damaging cuts are the solution to everything," he said. Empathy and action. While he wasn't ready to offer a suite of new measures, Trudeau said he understood what Canadians are experiencing and feeling and paid special attention to the plight of millennials. Empathy has never been Trudeau's problem and even now it remains a strength. An Abacus poll conducted earlier this summer found that Trudeau had a 20-point advantage over Poilievre when Canadians were asked which leader was the most compassionate. Trudeau also held a slim, 1-point lead on the question of which leader best understands you. But Poilievre is obviously keen to make gains on those fronts, both with his emphasis on feeling the pain of the people he meets at rallies and with a national ad campaign that leans heavily on the image of a family man. For Trudeau, the larger source of concern is that Poilievre came out slightly ahead when Canadians were asked which leader had the clearest vision. Poilievre led 36% to 34%, and the best ideas, 36% to 32%. Poilievre also won on the question which leader was the strongest, 37% to 33%. There might be a dozen issues that shape the answers to those questions over the next 2 years. But right now, none seem to loom larger than housing and affordability. And if Trudeau wants to win re-election, his empathy obviously needs to be backed up by action. When Trudeau talks about the need for real solutions over buzzwords, he's both needling Poilievre and turning around an attack that has often been launched in his direction and one he has to answer again.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Sonia Gandhi to join son Rahul in Srinagar tomorrow for family tour. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will be reaching Srinagar on a 2-day personal visit and will be joined by his mother Sonia Gandhi next day. Jammu and Kashmir Pradesh Congress Committee, JKPCC, President Vicar Rasool Wani said on Friday. Wani, however, said the two senior leaders will have no political engagement or meeting with any party leaders in Srinagar during the family tour. Rahul has been in the Union territory of Ladakh the past 1 week and will be leaving for Srinagar after addressing a public rally in Kargil Friday morning, the JKPCC president told PTI. He said he will be joined by his mother Sonia Gandhi on Saturday. After his rally, Rahul will lay a wreath at the Kargil War Memorial to honor the war martyrs. Then on his way to Srinagar, he will have a stopover in Dras for a brief interaction with the people. Rahul reached Ladakh on August 17, his first visit to the region since it was granted UT status after being carved out from Jammu and Kashmir in August 2019. The erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir was also turned into a union territory with its special status under Article 370 revoked. Over the past 1 week, Rahul has gone round almost all famous places including Pangong Lake, Nubra Valley, Kardungla Top, Lameru, and Zanskar on his motorcycle before reaching Kargil on Thursday. Another Congress leader said Rahul will be reaching Sonamarg in central Kashmir's Ganderbal district from Kargil in the afternoon before moving to Srinagar, where he will be staying for 2 nights at a houseboat and a hotel.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
Sonia Gandhi takes boat ride in Srinagar, to join Rahul Gandhi. Congress leader Sonia Gandhi took a boat ride in Nijeen Lake after reaching Srinagar on Saturday. She will join Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, who reached Srinagar on Friday on a 3-day personal visit. Jammu and Kashmir is his home, he loves people here and this land, so he wants to spend 2 days here in peace. This is not a political visit, it is completely personal and private visit, Vikar Rasoolwani, president of the Jammu and Kashmir Pradesh Congress Committee, told reporters. Rahul ji arrived in Srinagar on Friday evening from his week-long tour of Ladakh, a senior Congress leader told news agency PTI. He said the Wayanad MP will be joined by his mother on Saturday. Rahul's sister Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, along with her husband Robert Vadra, is also likely to join the duo, the party leader said. Rahul is staying at a houseboat in Nijeen Lake and the family is likely to stay at a hotel in Rainawari area on Saturday. The senior party leader added that the Gandhi family has old memories of the hotel. After 2 nights, they are likely to visit Gulmarg, he added. The leader, however, said no political engagements are scheduled for the family during the visit. It is a completely personal, family visit and no political engagement or meeting with any party leaders will happen, he added. Rahul has been in the Union Territory, UT, of Ladakh the past 1 week and reached Srinagar after addressing a public rally in Kargil Friday morning. Rahul reached Ladakh on August 17, his first visit to the region since it was granted UT status after being carved out from Jammu and Kashmir in August 2019. The erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir was also turned into a union territory with its special status under Article 370 revoked. Over the past week, Rahul has gone around almost all famous places in the region, including Pangong Lake, Nubra Valley, Kardungla Top, Lameru, and Zanskar, on his motorcycle before reaching Kargil on Thursday. Another Congress leader earlier said Rahul would be reaching Sonamarg in central Kashmir's Ganderbal district from Kargil in the afternoon before moving to Srinagar, where he will be staying for 2 nights at a houseboat and a hotel.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
In presidential candidate broadcast, Thurman vows to bring independence of mind as president. Singapore, in a presidential candidate broadcast aired on Thursday, August 24, Mr. Thurman Shanmugaratnam said he will bring his independence of mind to the role of president if elected. As president, I will bring more than deep expertise and long experience, he said. I also bring a more basic orientation, the independence of mind that I have held onto throughout my life, and my belief that we can make Singapore a fairer and better society. They are what I have been known for both within and outside government. The former senior minister is running in the presidential election against former GIC Chief Investment Officer Ng Kok Song and ex-NTUC Income Chief Tan Kin Lian. Messages from all 3 candidates were broadcast across 19 free-to-air radio and TV platforms on Thursday evening. In the broadcast, Mr. Thurman highlighted his years of experience as a politician who has engaged with people actively on the ground, as well as his expertise in formulating financial policies as a civil servant and in the cabinet. The 66-year-old vowed to serve as a unifying figure at home and to advance Singapore's interests abroad. I will also draw on my knowledge and reputation for independent thinking to fulfill the additional constitutional duties of the elected president, to safeguard our reserves and the integrity of the public service, said Mr. Thurman. To unify the country, he wants to strengthen a culture of respect for all Singaporeans, he said. This is something that cannot be achieved from the top down, so he intends to support initiatives on the ground that promote respect for every skill and job, the underprivileged, senior citizens, those with different views and political leanings, and more, said Mr. Thurman. I speak from experience, and a long track record on the ground for all to see, of connecting with people from all walks of life, constantly seeking to bridge differences in views and building community spirit, said Mr. Thurman, who was in politics for more than 22 years before resigning to run for president. Outside of Singapore, he promised to use his experience in government and international standing to promote the country's interests in an increasingly turbulent world. We must never become just another small country. I have been flying the Singapore flag high internationally for many years, and will work actively to strengthen our existing partnerships and build new ones, he said. The president also holds the second key to Singapore's reserves, which Mr. Thurman said he has ample experience to safeguard. He was finance minister from 2007 to 2015 and deputy prime minister from 2011 to 2019. Before entering politics, he was chairman of the Monetary Authority of Singapore and also chaired GIC's Investment Strategies Committee for 12 years. I will be thorough and impartial in fulfilling the constitutional duties of the President with regard to the prudent use of our nation's reserves, and ensuring we have an honest and first-rate public service, he said. I come with deep knowledge and experience, of how and when we should spend from our reserves to serve Singapore's needs, and how they are safeguarded for the future.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.
BRICS admits 6 new members as bloc seeks bigger say in global affairs. The BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, meeting at their summit in Johannesburg, announced on Thursday a historic expansion of the emerging countries bloc, with the integration of 6 new members, including Iran, from January. Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are also joining the group, which aims to increase its influence in the world, announced South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Chinese President Xi Jinping hailed this historic enlargement and predicted a radiant future for the BRICS. As the bloc's economic heavyweight, Beijing was in favor of this expansion, which was the focus of the 15th summit, which opened on Tuesday and ends this evening. No information was released on the content of the discussions, the support given or the criteria used in the strategic choice of the new entrants. Negotiations were conducted behind closed doors during a plenary session on Wednesday and at several bilateral meetings. Some 40 countries from all over the world had applied for membership or expressed an interest in joining. A sign of the growing influence of emerging countries on the world stage, according to the Club of Five, which produces a quarter of the world's wealth and brings together 42% of the world's population. Immediately after the announcement, Tehran hailed on X, formerly Twitter, a strategic success for the country's foreign policy. Ethiopia's Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, spoke of an important moment for his country. Ethiopia is ready to cooperate with all for an inclusive and prosperous world order, he posted on social networks. The United Arab Emirates also welcomed the agreement, with President Mohammed bin Zayed saying he respects the vision of the BRICS leaders. The same was true of Egypt, which said it looked forward to making the voice of the countries of the South heard. A heterogeneous alliance, the BRICS have in common their demand for a more inclusive global balance, particularly with regard to the influence of the United States and the European Union. Noting that we are moving towards a multipolar world, UN Chief Antonio Guterres called for an overhaul of outdated multilateral institutions, which must reflect today's economic realities.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos. Subscribe our YouTube channel and click our bell icon for new videos.